Well, hello, my YouTube fellas and gals. So, if you're new to my channel, I own a used bookstore. And if you are interested in any of the 10 books that I show daily, want to get the chance, um, contact me through Minda's Bookstore more on Facebook, or you can contact me at tammysmakeuptreats@gmail.com. Everything will be in the description below. And if you don't want to order books, but you love to read, and you actually use a Kindle or Nook, you can also use these books as a resource center to let you know what books are out there so that you can go look them up by the name, the author. I even put the ISBN number, International Standard Book Numbers, and I read the synopsises. These books are all hardbacks that you're going to see. This is lot 44, and they're $3 a piece. So the first book we have is 4 Past Midnight by Stephen King. This is what the book looks like. Some might have a little bit of aging or a little stain, like right there, because it is a used bookstore. This is a 1990 copyright, and this is what the book is about. Past midnight, something happens to time, that a fragile concept we employ in order our sense of reality. It bends, stretches, turns back, or snaps, and sometimes reality snaps with it. And that's what happens to the wide-eyed observer when the window between reality and unreality shatters and the glass begins to fly. These 4 chilling novellas, at least fit for King fans, old and new, provide some shocking answers. After all, past midnight is Stephen King's favorite time of day. 1 past midnight, the Langurs takes a red-eye flight from LA to Boston into a most unfriendly sky. Only 11 passengers survive, but landing in an eerily empty world makes them wish they hadn't. Something's waiting for them, you see. 2 past midnight, secret windows, secret garden, enters the sudden strange life of writer Mort Rainey, recently divorced, depressed, and alone on the shore of Tashmore Lake, alone, that is, until a figure named John Shooter arrives, pointing an accusing finger. 3 past midnight, the library policeman in Junction City, Iowa, an unlikely place for evil to be hiding, but for small businessman Sam Peebles, who thinks he may be losing his mind, another enemy is hiding there as well. The truth. If he can find it in time, he might stand a chance. Past 4 midnight, the flat surface of a Polaroid photograph becomes, for 15-year-old Kevin Delvin, an invitation into the supernatural. Old Pot Merrill Castle Rock sharpest trader wants to crash the party for profit, but the sun dog, a creature that shouldn't exist at all, is a very dangerous investment. With the introduction of the prefatory notes of each of these tales, Stephen King discusses how these stories arose and what the world's most fearsome imagination. But it is the stories themselves that will keep readers awake long after bedtime into those dark, timeless hours past midnight. So there you go. That is book number 1. Book number 2. We have Stephen King's Dolores Claiborne. This is what the book looks like. This is a 1993 copyright. This is what it's about. By her own account, she's an old Yankee bitch. Dolores Claiborne, foul temper, foul mouth, foul life. Folks on the little tall island have been waiting 30 years to find out just what happened on the eerie, dark day her husband Joe died. The day of the total eclipse. The police want to know what happened yesterday when rich, bedridden Vera Donovan, the island's grand dame, San Mercy, and Dolores' longtime employer, died suddenly in her care. With no choice but to talk, Dolores Claiborne talks up a storm. Everything I did for love, she says, and the spellbinding novel is at once her confession and her defense. Given a voice as compelling as any contemporary fiction, her story centers on disintegrating marriages, molten core, where the mind's unblinking eye becomes huge with hate and a woman's heart turns murderous. It unfolds in the strange intimacy between Dolores and Vera. The link that binds them, it shows finally how fierce love can be and how dreadful its consequences, and how the soul harrowed by the hardest life can achieve a kind of grace. But that is for readers to judge. They will come away with different verdicts for Dolores, perhaps, but once taken inside the dark room of her life, lit by a brilliant intensity of Stephen King's storytelling, they will never forget her. So there you go, book number 2. Love the action and suspense section, which is what this is. Then we have book number 3, The Appeal by John Grisham. This is what the book looks like. It is a 2008 copyright, and this is what it's about. In a crowded courtroom in Mississippi, a jury returns a shocking verdict against a chemical company accused of dumping toxic waste into a small town's water supply, causing the worst cancer cluster in history. The company appeals to the Mississippi Supreme Court, whose 9 justices will one day either approve the verdict or reverse it. Who are the 9? How will they vote? Can one be replaced before the case is ultimately decided? The chemical company is owned by a Wall Street predator named Carl Trudeau, and Mr. Trudeau is convinced the court is not friendly enough. With the judicial elections looming, he decides to try to purchase himself a seat on the court. The cost is a few $1,000,000, a drop in the bucket for a billionaire like Mr. Trudeau. Through an intricate web of conspiracy and deceit, his political operatives recruit a young, unsuspecting candidate. They finance him, manipulate him, market him, and mold him into a potential Supreme Court justice, their Supreme Court justice. The Appeal is a powerful, timely, and shocking story of political and legal intrigue, a story that will leave readers unable to think about our electoral process or judicial system in quite the same way ever again. I think that's already happened. Anyways, this is book number 3. Book number 4. We have The Broker by John Grisham. This is what the book looks like. It is a 2005 copyright, and this is what it's about. In his final hours in the Oval Office, the outgoing president grants a controversial last-minute pardon to Joel Backman, a notorious Washington power broker who has spent the last 6 years hidden away in a federal prison. What no one knows is that the president issues the pardon only after receiving enormous pressure from the CIA. It seems that Backman, in his power broker heyday, may have obtained secrets that compromised the world's most sophisticated satellite and surveillance system. Backman is quietly smuggled out of the country in a military cargo plane, given a new name, a new identity, and a new home in Italy. Eventually, after he has settled into his new life, the CIA will leak his whereabouts to the Israelis, the Russians, the Chinese, and the Saudis. Then the CIA will do what it does best, sit back and watch. The question is not whether Backman will survive. There's no chance of that. The question the CIA needs answered is who will kill him. There you go. Book number 4. Book number 5. We have The Accessory, a novel about terrifying courtship by Mary Lockwood. This is what the book looks like. It is a 1968 copyright. And this is what it's about. Ooh, look at her. The doctor sat at his desk, staring down at the tiny crowded print of the Manhattan telephone directory, which lay sprawled open on the green blotter at a page in the W's. Leave well enough alone, he told himself, angrily, half fearfully. For heaven's sakes, leave it alone. She may have already decided it's none of her business. She once more examined her face and his mind, and enduring again the light, lazy mockery of her glance. Her flickering half-smile, yes, he thought, as soon trust a cat to stay out of the cream. Oh, by the way, what's the name of the tall, blonde doctor? You know, the good-looking one with the bony face who always seems to be in such a hurry? Because, honestly, it's the funniest thing. I could swear I saw him down at Byron Park the other day when this poor man killed over with a heart attack or something, and they were calling for a doctor. I mean, he didn't have a bag or anything, so no one knew he was a doctor, but aren't you supposed to? I mean, are doctors expected to? He had not asked her name. He had found her address simply by turning a page. In this city of millions, no one knew, no one need ever know of the connection between them. Fantastic, unimaginable, possible. Yes, he thought possible. Don't I see already exactly how it could be done and know myself capable of it, as if everything in my own defense? There was a roommate, the newspaper said, Anne Claremont. She had no idea who might have wanted to harm her roommate, whose body she'd been called upon to identify. She was being kept under sedation at her father's apartment and not available for comment. As the weeks passed, the doctors found that he was bothered by a sense of unfinished business. If he could just meet the roommate, he thought, this Anne Claremont could set himself to watch her face at the moment she first saw him and heard his name, an introduction, a handshake, and with the final confirmation of his own security. The Accessory is the story of what happened to Anne Claremont and Dr. Nicholas Sheldon, mounting to a climax that will make a reader gasp. Very interesting. That's book number 5. Book number 6, we have The Hunter and the Whale, A Tale of Africa by Lawrence Vanderpost. This has got a library cover on it, so I can't show you what the cover looks like. It does have a little bit of writing in it and on the edges. This is a 1967 copyright. That's when I was born. This is what the synopsis is, what the book is about. North from the regions of Antarctica in the summer come little whaling ships to the great natural harbor of Port Natal, here to hunt the sperm and the blue whale in the warm waters of Indian Ocean. This unforgettable narrative concerns one such ship, the Kurt Hansen, her colorful crew, and the mortal conflict that eventually develops in their midst. The time is after World War I, and the hero is Peter, the young South African spotter nicknamed Bright Eye. Because of his prowess, God, I can't speak today. The novel follows him through 4 summers of whaling and enough adventures to fill a lifetime. From the first heart-pounding glimpse of a whale blow, a poplar of pearl and a mirage of early afternoon flame, to the final apocalyptic fall of green water upon the shuddering bows of the Kurt Hansen. Throughout these adventures, the Zulu Stoker, brilliantly portrayed, is an enlightening companion, but Peter is influenced in particular by his captain, Thor's Larson, a driven, dedicated man, respected but scarcely loved by his crew, and both in line of duty and as a result of his attachment to the Leisha. Peter's chief witness to struggle for power between Larson and her father, the great hunter of elephants, Hercules de la Bretagne, that forms the climax. Sounds interesting, even though I can't pronounce some of the words. Book number 6 is White Death by Clive Cussler. Oh my gosh, I'm calling him Kurt Kessler. This is what the book looks like. It's a 2003 copyright. Breathe. This is what it's about. Okay. Hailed as a hero for the new millennium, Austin is a leader of NUMA's Special Assignment Team, and the threat before him now is definitely special. A confrontation between a radical environmentalist group and a Danish cruiser has forced Austin and colleague Joe Zavella to come to the rescue of a ship full of trapped men. But when the two of them investigate further, they discover that something far more sinister is at work. A shadowy multinational corporation is attempting to wrest control of the very seas themselves, no matter what havoc results, and is killing anyone who attempts to stop it. When Austin's boat blows up and he barely survives, it seems certain he was supposed to be in the next line to die, but he cannot stop now, for the environmental disaster has already begun and only he and Newman stand in the way. Filled with all the hair-raising action and endless imagination unique to Cussler, White Death is an exceptional thriller from the grandmaster of adventure fiction. That's another one. Sounds interesting. Book number 7. We have Rainbow Six by Tom Clancy. That's what the book looks like. This is a 1998 copyright, and this is what it's about. At its heart is John Clark, the ex-Navy SEAL of Without Remorse, well known from several of Clancy's novels as a master of secret operational missions. Whether hunting warlords in Japan, drug lords in Colombia, or nuclear terrorists in the United States, Clark is efficiently and deadly, but even he has ghosts in his past, demons that must be exorcised. And nothing is more demonic than the peril he must face in Rainbow Six. Newly named the head of International Task Force dedicated to combating terrorism, Clark is looking forward to getting his teeth into a new mission. But the opportunity starts coming thicker and faster than anyone could have expected. An incident at a Swiss bank, the kidnapping of an international trader in Germany, a terrible raid on an amusement park in Spain. Each episode seems separate, discrete, yet the timing disturbs Clark. Is there a connection? Is he being tested? With the help of his close associates, executive officer Alistair Stanley, and strike team leaders Domingo Chavez and Peter Covington, Clark tries to figure out where all this activity is heading, but there's no way to predict the real threat. A group of terrorists like none the world has ever encountered. A band of men and women so extreme that their success could literally mean the end of life on Earth as we know it. Ooh, so this is a conspiracy theory. So there we go. Book 7. Book number 8. Or no, that was 9 is what we're on. Book number 9 is The Tommyknockers by Stephen King. That's what the book looks like. This is a 1987 book. It's got a little bit of aging on the outside of the pages. It begins with nothing more frightening than a nursery rhyme. Yet in Stephen King's hands, it becomes an unforgettable parable of dread, a threat from the unimaginable darkness that drags the practical inhabitants of New England Village into hell worse than their own most horrible nightmares and yours. It begins with a writer named Roberta Anderson looking for firewood in a forest and stretches behind her house. Bobby stumbles over 3 inches of metal, which unusually heavy spring runoff has left sticking out of the soil. A Liger's beer can, she thinks at first, but the metal was as solid as a mother rock. It begins with Bobby's discovery of the ship in the earth, a ship buried for millions of years, but still vibrating faintly, still humming with some sort of life, faint, weak, but still better left alone. Bobby begins to dig tentatively at first and compulsively and is joined by her old friend and one-time lover, Jim Gardner. Aided by a weirdly advanced technology, their excavation proceeds apace. And as they uncover more and more of the artifact, both familiar and so unbelievable, it's almost beyond comprehension. The inhabitants of Haven start to change. There is a new hot water heater in Bobby's basement, a hot water heater that apparently runs on flashlight batteries. The vengeful housewife who learns of her husband's affair from a picture of Jesus on top of her TV, a picture that begins to talk, not to mention the 10-year-old magician who makes his little brother disappear for real. The townspeople of Haven are being welded into one organic, homicidal, and fearsomely brilliant entity, and the fatal thrall to the Tommyknockers. In this riveting, nightmarish story, Stephen King has taught us most terrifying novel to date. And the next time someone raps at your door, you may want to keep a chain on it. It might be the Tommyknocker man. Ooh, that sounds creepy. So that's book number 9. Book number 10 and the last book of this set is Treasure of Con by Clive Kessler and Dirk Kessler. So this is what the book looks like. It is a 2006 copyright, and this is what it's about. Okay. Genghis Khan, the greatest conqueror of all time, who is at his peak, ruled an empire that stretched to the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea. His conquests are the stuff of legend, his tomb a forgotten mystery until now. When Dirk Pitt is nearly killed rescuing an oil survey team from a freak wave on Russia's Lake Baikal, I don't know how to say that word. It appears a simple act of nature, but when the survey team is abducted and Pitt's research vessel nearly sunk, it's obvious there's something more sinister involved. All trails lead to Mongolia and a mysterious Mogul who is conducting covert deals for supplying oil to the Chinese while wreaking havoc on global oil markets with deadly acts of sabotage. The Mongolian harbors a dream of restoring the conquest of his ancestors and holds a dark secret about the Genghis Khan that just might give him a wealth and power to make the dream come true. From the frigid lakes of Siberia to the hot sands of the Gobi Desert, Dirk Pitt and Al Giordano find intrigue, adventure, and pearl while collecting clues to the mysterious treasure of Xanadu. But first they must stop the tycoon from spreading his killing spree, one that is about to strike very, very close to home. Filled with a breathtaking suspense and extraordinary imagination, his new novel is yet further proof that when it comes to adventure writing, nobody beats Clive Kessler. So there we go, book number 8. And whatever time zone you're in, I hope you're having a great one. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I'll see you soon. Bye.